Hello, my Astro family. This is Lada from astrolada.com, and these are your 2020 yearly horoscopes. Thank you for choosing me to lead you through this year, and I'll try to be as comprehensive and as interesting as possible. And 2020, this is an intro for all the signs, and basically, I want to tell you what you have to prepare in order to get the most out of those horoscopes. As you know, if you've known me from before, we don't only look at the sun sign. Everyone knows I'm a Libra because I'm born in October, I'm an Aries because I'm born in April. Well, this is just your sun sign. But actually, there are way more personal signs, those of the ascendant, which change every 2.5 hours, and those of your moon sign, which changes every 2.5 days. So I would like you to check your 2020 horoscope, starting with the ascendant sign, the moon sign, and then the sun sign. They are basically, all those horoscopes are good for the three signs. And some of you might have the same sun and moon sign, or ascendant and moon, or whatever, but most people usually have the sun, moon, and ascendant in different signs. And the order of importance is always the ascendant, after that the moon, especially for women or people born at night, and the sun, especially for men and people born during the day. So, how do you find out what your ascendant, sun, and moon is? Very easy. You need to know your time of birth. If you don't know your time of birth, then listen to your sun sign only. But maybe you can be able to find the moon sign as well. But those of you who know your time of birth, I'll share my screen with you so you see what to do, how to calculate it. You just need to go to my website, astrolada.com, and go to this here, to the free birth chart and transits. And then enter your details here. Oops, waiting for it to load up. So write your name, I'll write mine, but I'll put some other, I'm not gonna put my details. Write the minute, the hour, let's say New York. Continue. Then you can select here which New York is it. Let's say it's somewhere in New York Hospital, whatever. And continue, and you will see the chart. Here it is. Sorry, it's taking a little bit longer to chart. Oops. This is the chart. All you have to look here is at the planetary details. You see? And only the first three, where it's abbreviated, ascendant, sun, and moon. I want you to mark down the degree basically of your ascendant, sun, and moon, and the sign. You don't need to listen to you don't need to write down the second, like 8 minutes, 8 degrees and 11 minutes. Just remember, for example, that this person has 8 degrees in Libra ascendant, sun at 15 degrees Virgo, and moon at 27 degrees Scorpio. And then check, because I use specific degrees, because all the planets don't influence us all the time. Some, for example, will be influenced only, some planets will influence only 4 or 5 degrees from Scorpio. And I want you to listen. When I start giving degrees, they'll be written on the screen. I want you to pay attention and check, oh, is this my degree? If your moon is in Scorpio, for example, your ascendant or sun or moon, and this is how we're going to go through it. And you're going to get a lot more, way more in depth, way more specific than any general yearly horoscopes. And that's how we're going to make astrology more real, not just popular magazine astrology. This is more, it goes towards how proper astrologers work. And before I start with each of the signs, I just want you to join me in a little prayer for this year 2020, to bless it, to collectively join our energies. Dear angels, dear Father, Mother, Creator of the universe, thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you for giving us this amazing art, astrology. Thank you for allowing us to peek into your thoughts, to peek into your plans for us for the future. You're so gracious and loving, dear Creator, dear God, dear Mother. You're so gracious to give us those signs, those signatures, so we can prepare, so we can know what your will is. Help us live according to your divine will in 2020. If there are any challenges for some of us ahead, help us accept them with dignity. Help us transform the qualities in us that bring on those challenges. Or if it's something karmic that we have to bear, help us accept it with humbleness. For those of us that have good moments ahead, those of us that divine blessings will be poured. Help us stay humble, help us stay grateful, and help us develop more love for each other and for humanity and for God, so we don't become too proudful. Help us, this year 2020, touch our hearts, whether through challenges or whether, and both will exist, challenges or positive developments for all of us. Let them all lead us to more love and connection with your divine presence. Amen. Leo, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant 2020. The most important thing to always look at is the position of Saturn and Jupiter, and it will give you a pretty clear idea of where the major points of action will be for the year. That's why I always start first with Saturn, and then I carry into Jupiter. And Saturn for the past 2 years, Leos, has been in our 6th house. And it continues for most of 2020 to be in our 6th house. So we're going to make like a recap of what it means, how it has been acting on us so far, and it's going to carry on in that direction, but with the added help of Jupiter. It's no longer going to be as hard as it was in the last 2 years in regards to the 6th house. It's going to get better. And by the way, every time I do a video for Leos, I'm so excited because this is my moon sign, and I'm born at night as well. So then the Leo predictions are so correct for me. And just looking at my own life, what happened in the last 2 years while Saturn entered the 6th house of our horoscopes. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have experienced something similar. And some of the major lessons for me was to develop patience when it comes to my work, because 6th house is the house of our organization, duties, responsibilities. And when Saturn transits there, they tend to increase, first of all. Say if you work somewhere, your duties increase, a lot of repetitive tasks that you have to do over. It's not so much joyful. It's more like you have to do it. These are duties and rules you have to do. And I've always had a lot of work, but in the last 2 years, it was like, wow, so many responsibilities that came. And I'm sure for a lot of you felt something similar. And it's not only at your work responsibilities that come when Saturn transits the 6th house. They're also in your everyday life. For me, it was the appearance of 2 children and learning to be organized, learning to be more efficient with my time. I'm sure even if you don't have children, that's one of the big lessons for the last 2 years you have to learn. Efficiency, organization, and to work through the complexity. When work becomes too much, when Saturn is in the 6th house, we have to, if it's not sustainable anymore, we have to restructure how we do our duties, responsibilities, our daily errands. We have to learn to be more organized, more efficient. And the 2.5 years, 2020, it continues as well. This process can feel a bit burdensome and heavy, but you're currently just working through those complexity. And once Saturn comes out of the 6th house, which will be fully at the end of 2020, you'll be way more efficient. You'll be way more organized. You'll be way cleaner. You at your workplace, at your everyday environment. It will become much simpler. But now you're simplifying it. I can give you an example with another very close Leo, a rising person of mine. She's been having a lot of work, but basically she decided that she doesn't want to work so much. And she's been restructuring her whole work, her whole business, trying to find the right employees so they can take over from her. 6th house also rules employees. So for some of you, it might have been difficulties or hard work connected to providing work for employees, or working very, having to put a lot of effort and a lot of repetitive work in regards to employees of any sorts. But also Saturn can bring problems, and having problems with employee. For example, every time I hired someone to help me at home, or nannies, or someone to clean, they had so many life problems that it would burden me. The police would be after them, or the boyfriend would chase her one night and she would come ringing at 12 at night, can I sleep at your place? Or come to take care of the kids and start crying, or, or we hire someone to fix the roof or whatever, and always delays or frustrations there, or people that had a lot of problems when you're trying to hire them. Maybe it's good while Saturn is the sixth house, if you're going to be hiring people, whether you're a manager somewhere or just someone to help you with something, to do older people, because Saturn rules older people, more experienced ones. And again, still there can be certain delays, certain frustrations in regards to work and employees of any sort. If you're the employee yourself, it always indicates that when Saturn transits the sixth house, that maybe you had some frustrating situations at work. Maybe they gave you twice as much work, but not much recognition, or maybe some dissatisfaction that you are aware of in regards to your workplace. Maybe an environment that feels suppressing, like Saturn suppresses or limits you in some way, that feels uninspiring, that feels like a daily grind, and even if you don't have a job, sometimes when Saturn transits the sixth house, it can indicate delays with finding a job or getting an employment, or having to be very persistent with it, trying over and over. You get rejected 10 times, and then it's and only then it works. And this continues, but now you're going to start getting the results. Now you're going to start getting rewards, because Jupiter is going to bring to join Saturn in the sixth house for the year 2020. So all those difficulties in the sixth house that I was talking about, problems with employees or with your employment, with work, too many responsibilities, feeling uninspired at your work, or having to restructure and having to do things over and over when it comes to your work, your daily routines, they will give results. They will bring blessings now. But I want to continue a little bit more about Saturn in the sixth house. Sixth house is also to do with cleanliness and order. I don't know about you. I've never been very organized and clean, but since Saturn entered my sixth house, I've become kind of obsessed on it. And Saturn is having a duty to learn to do something better, a duty to master something. So definitely the duties connected to cleaning, to organizing, have increased. But so has my desire, and almost like desire for a clean environment. I'm almost became like I can't tolerate, almost feeling the most problems that we've been having, that I've been feeling resentful, because Saturn can bring resentment if in the house where it's transiting, has been when I see that it's messy around, and I'll start feeling resentful towards my husband or towards the children that they're making a mess. And the Saturn in the sixth house really wants you to up your game, and maybe some of you have been doing it, to clean your house, to order your life around in a practical level, to fulfill your practical responsibilities. Some of you maybe had duties towards someone signified by the sixth house. The sixth house is those in need, the sick, the impoverished, those below you in some way, maybe the employees, or the people that have certain needs that need to be helped. The sixth house rules those that are sick, that are impoverished in some way, that are from the lower classes. So maybe you have, and especially if you work in some ministry of service where you are helping those in need, that might have been very busy time of work, of organization, of increasing such duties. And even if you don't work in such environment, maybe you have to take care and pay a debt almost to someone in a less fortunate position than you. This is the sixth house, people with less fortunate position. Another thing that the sixth house is known for in ancient Vedic astrology is that the sixth house is the 12th from the 7th. The 7th is relationships, marriage, contracts. The 12th from it, which is the 6th basically, counting from the sun, moon, or ascendant, is the one of dissolution, dissolving contract or agreement. But when Saturn passes there, it kind of fixates it, it stagnates it. So some of you might have felt that they're in an unproductive contract or agreement with someone, that it's just dragging on and on. And but they're locked in, or maybe in a relationship. Usually when, even if two people don't love each other, or the relationship is already outdated, it might be business partnership or personal, you kind of tend to get locked into it for the few years that Saturn is transiting the sixth house, because it freezes, Saturn freezes the ability to dissolve a contract or agreement or a relationship, which is the sixth, which means the 12th from the 7th. But don't worry, because as I said, Jupiter is coming and joining that. is joining Saturn in 2020. And it's known in ancient astrology that when Saturn and Jupiter are together in the same sign or aspect the same sign, they make this area of your life happen and manifest. So the hard work that you've been doing till now, or the delays that Saturn was doing there in the sixth house, will start getting resolved. Also, the sixth house is house of health. So a lot of people become very health conscious when Saturn transits the sixth house. Very often, not because they by inspiration, but because they start to feel the pains of aging or the signs of aging on their health. Maybe some health conditions that are chronic appear for elderly people, for older people. Others, or chronic that have existed, they raise their head, or something that you're doing in regards to your health, diet, your lifestyle, which is harming your health, you become aware of it. Because Saturn also rules karma, the results and the consequences of our actions. So if you've been eating just sugar, or if you've been over drinking, or if you've been slouching when you're constantly on the screen, now when Saturn transits the sixth house, often you start seeing the signs of wear and tear. Saturn is to wear and tear something, to overuse it, not to use it correctly out of ignorance. So something in regards to your health, whether it's food, or whether it's posture, or whether it's, are you getting enough sleep or rest? Are you getting enough, or sometimes even with mental health can be, if you have inclinations for that Saturn can make it a bit worse. But the sixth house, thankfully, is a house that we can fix the health problems there. They're not karmic. They're not there to be suffered for life. They're as a consequence of our own actions. So we can, within this lifetime's time. So when Saturn transits there in the sixth house, we have a rare opportunity to actually fix, because Saturn, the other thing that Saturn likes to do is fix mistakes. So if certain health issues have flared up, if you've noticed certain mental or physical imbalances that have been locked in, because again, remember that Saturn will lock them in, can make them more chronic, can make them a source of trouble for you when it transits the sixth house, but it's to bring you awareness, so through repeated effort you can change it. So when Saturn transits, especially the sixth house from the ascendant, from the moon, to a lesser degree from the sun, I've noticed that this is the time people really sort out their health, that they change something, whether in diet or in bad habits. Sixth house rules self-medication. But usually when Saturn still is transiting there, you are having repeated efforts to kind of stop yourself from such health-harming and balance-harming actions that you do. And if you're someone very stubborn like I am, I keep trying to stop smoking, drinking. I've been doing it for the last 2 years, and I start again. And because Saturn kind of locks in such condition, whether it's like a health condition, whether it's like habit condition, can lock it in for the duration while it's there with the person with repeated, and it can feel so difficult to do it, because Saturn always makes things feel difficult. But don't worry, you're training also even with repeated efforts, you're training your mind, you're training your body. And usually by the end of Saturn transiting the sixth house, I've noticed that a lot of people get rid of a bad habit, they make positive changes with consistent effort. The word with Saturn is consistent, to fix their health. And usually the health problem starts to disappear when Saturn moves, if they've been, if they consciously try to change that, to make changes in their lifestyle, and the health problem starts disappearing by the end of the Saturn transit. But repeating again, Saturn is being joined by Jupiter the whole 2020. So it's no longer those sixth house issues we've been going through emotionally, psychologically. They're going to lighten up. They're going to start giving good results. So if you've been trying consistently to change your diet, to start living healthier, for example, to start getting yourself into some workout routine, which is for health purposes, not just for purposes, I want to look pretty. No, these are not the motivations that drive us to change when Saturn transits the sixth house. It's more like, I have to keep this machine, this gift from God working, because I'm starting to feel always, So it's more like a feeling of responsibility. It's high time you have to do it. But now Jupiter joins, and it's going to make it, it's going to bring you the answers. It's going to make you see the results of those efforts. It's going to make it easier if you're trying to fix a diet, if you're trying to fix your lifestyle and food and posture. You're going to just start finding it even joyful. It's not going to feel like a burden. And if you're locked as well in some unhealthy habit, you're going to feel unlocking of that situation. You're going to feel like the support of heavens. Jupiter is divine blessings. Jupiter actually rules angelic wisdom. It's almost like you can get, when Jupiter transits a house, people can fulfill that house in the easy way because they get an inspiration from their guardian angel. And it's like their eyes are open suddenly and they're like, I see, even though they might have known before with their intelligence, with their mind, that what I'm doing is wrong, or, this is what I should eat, or, but it takes Jupiter to pass by to really, the intuitive understanding of that to settle in, for you to be able to overcome that unhealthy state, that state of imbalance. And often people receive, when Jupiter transits their sixth house, so 2020 for that, answers to health issues. For example, they'll find a good medical doctor. They'll find a healer or someone else, or they'll find a book or a lifestyle or a certain diet that is the right for them. Because while Saturn was in your sixth house, you were making the efforts. You almost like you were showing the universe, I want to do that. But, because Saturn is a heavy planet, it's difficult. Often we almost have to do it by duty and with willpower and with repeated effort and failing and trying again. But Jupiter comes and you're like, now I see, okay, or now it's a gift from God when Jupiter transits the sixth house in regards to your health, that you're given the right answer. Or in regards to work, let's remember that sixth house is also work. If you've been having some delays of finding a job or doing some project that's been taking you a while and it's dragging on, and it's, you keep meeting obstacles, and regulations and restrictions and rules. Well, Jupiter, because of Saturn, of course, in the sixth house, now Jupiter is joining the sixth house there. It's entering, so you're going to start getting solutions to those problems, to your work problems. If it's a restrictive environment, if it was too repetitive, you're still going to have work, a lot of work, or you're still going to, because Saturn is there. But now, if you are missing, for example, feeling inspired at work, it will come. Now an inspiration and purpose or a more meaningful job will come for you, because Jupiter always brings meaning and clarity to, or some project to do that inspires you a lot more rather than just daily grind, the same thing. And now if you're working on some project, you'll be able to fulfill it very likely by, you'll find the right resources, whatever, by the end, the right colleagues or the right employees or the right people to hire. So you can, if you're a business owner, for example, like I am, or if you're a manager in a big institution or something, you need the right crew. And the sixth house is your crew. And probably with Saturn here, yes, they were probably working hard, or you're working hard with them. There was a lot of focus, but it was hard. Now Jupiter joins, you'll see that you'll find the right people, you connect with them, that they also are more visionary, they have inspiration, their own original ideas that they'll help you in regards to your business or projects that you're doing. You're gonna, if you try and find someone to build your house, or someone to take care of your kids, or someone to help you, someone who can be of service of you, or the right nanny for your children, or the right cleaner for your home. 2020 is the year when this will happen. To be honest, well, Saturn was only in my sixth house from the moon. It's just never had, we had to change so many nannies, so many cleaners. Again, I stopped and I just started doing everything, taking on the responsibilities, because it was just too much hassle. So now, Jupiter, please do come in the sixth house. I'm so looking forward to you. And it's also, if you've been having a more environment at work, as I said, that is not so, maybe it was not so welcoming, or it felt oppressive, this will be fixed in 2020 with the entrance of Jupiter there. Sixth house in ancient Vedic astrology also rules death. So often when Saturn transits the sixth house and continues for one more year, people are trying to restructure their debt, they're trying to reorganize it somehow, to work hard to fulfill it, to pay it off, but it's a lot of hard work, again, with repeated effort. Jupiter comes in, and if you're trying to complete debt, or if you're trying to, to consolidate, make it less, you're gonna find the right solutions to the right way to do it. So, and you see, all of those things have practical nature, everyday duties, responsibilities, and you also receive some relief with your everyday duties and responsibilities because of Jupiter entering there. It's not gonna like carry on being like the daily grind. Yes, you still have a lot. Saturn is still there on and off. Maybe you get relief for a couple of months from 21st of March till the beginning of July, when Saturn leaves the sixth house for a couple of months only, though. April, May, and June, so for 3 months type of thing it leaves. But it will come back again to revisit from July to the end of the year, some final points to restructure some work in some way, to get better organized and more efficient. But Jupiter continues to be there, helping you with that, or the right people helping you with that. And as I said, sixth house, the house of to solve problems, might be health problems, whatever. Jupiter is going to give you fix problems that are problematic. Jupiter is going to give you solutions to that. Sixth house is also enemies. When Saturn transits there, we can get locked in an impasse situation with an enemy of some sort. That gets no solution, basically. You just have to tolerate it over and over. But Jupiter joins now 2020, and they can be a positive. And what I mean by enemies, for example, the sixth house is considered a house of court cases, litigation. So in a battle or fight with someone, this is type of an enemy. So the sixth house, court cases or litigation in such kind of a situation, and Saturn maybe has stuck those things there to make them stuck, and Jupiter enters now the sixth house, and it's going to receive a solution very likely in your favor. Now you have the help of the two gods, and so all of, if there been any such situations in your life, or as we said, it's also the being locked in, especially when it's in a relationship or business partnership or contract, that you don't like each other, that it's not productive, it's harmful, it's no longer good for you, but you're kind of stuck there. It might be marriage, it might be boyfriend, girlfriend, it might be agreement with someone. Well, don't worry, because now Jupiter enters Capricorn, so that means your sixth house. So you will receive, Jupiter is a planet that liberates, that can relieve you. So you can receive a relief from such a, you still have some duties to fulfill towards such a person, because Saturn is still there, but you will receive unlocking of such impasse situation with a contract, with a boyfriend, girlfriend, but with someone that you almost might consider yourself like you've become enemies now. You're no longer the loving couple. If you're in a loving relationship with a loving partner, there is no, Saturn in the sixth house does not affect it, basically. In any way. But if you have any of those relationships that it feels like enemies already, this is when you're going to get the relief with Jupiter going through the sixth house. You see a lot of good stuff happening as well to help with Saturn. But Saturn, as I said, from the 21st of March till July, for 3 months, April, May, June, so 2 months and something, a bit more, 3 months, is entering Aquarius, which is your seventh house of relationships. So just for about 3 months, only a few of you, Leos, will feel this Saturn. And that's Leos that are born from 0 till 2 degrees approximately, maybe up to 3 degrees Leo, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. Check. Again, as I said, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant from 0 to 3 degrees. That's a very small percentage of you. That would mean that you're born 23rd of July, 23rd, 24th, 25th, if it's your Sun in Leo. Now, you're going to find it a bit tougher because Saturn will be opposing your Sun, Moon, or Ascendant for the spring period, basically, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, or those periods starting from the end of March to July. So you're going to get a whiff of a bit more, you're going to get a challenge, especially through a relationship, because Saturn is passing the seventh house, other people. So you might notice that for a few months, for example, there are more responsibilities connected with a partner, towards a partner. that your partner might be working much harder, so they don't have time for you. There might be some cooling off of a relationship as well with someone very close, not necessarily marriage partner. It can be boyfriend, girlfriend. It can be a business partner. It can be a very close friend as well. The seventh house is others that are close to us, that we consider as equal to us, that are that they don't have to take our orders or whatever. It's like the sixth house is there is the employees, so people that we have more say over. But seventh house is people that are partners you consider equal. So when Saturn transits there, and Saturn will be in its own sign, so it usually means that it gives better results, not as challenging as other times. But you can notice that the partner is becoming more cooler, more distant, or you're becoming more cool and distant towards the partner because you have work or responsibilities, or because they have some difficulties happening in their life. And especially now, it can be time that the relationship breakups, especially a relationship that has been for a long time not, it will escalate. The negativity there will escalate. You will no longer feel locked up in it, that there is no solution. You can't leave, you can't stay. There will be an escalation, maybe some important decision being taken, more distancing that happens. And even because Saturn in Aquarius is very detached, so if breakups happen of business contracts, for those born those first few degrees, a breakup of contracts, if it happens, or a test of a relationship, or breakup of a partnership, or an important person leaving your life, this will not happen with much drama, because Saturn is in Aquarius. It's there. It acts really kind of cool, detached. It doesn't get resentful, so it can feel like just, moving away from each other, or just basically like in a very business professional way saying, well, it's not working, but that's only the first few degrees, 0, 1, 2. Also, it's no way does it mean, and for some of you it can be both things. Some contract or some agreement can become more testing with a partner, with a business partner. It's not going to be in a mean way again, though. I think it can have like a very detached solution to it. But also for some of you, it can indicate that there's extra responsibilities that come to you from a partnership, especially towards a mutual goal together, because Saturn Aquarius is a sign of mutual goals, like something in the future you want to achieve, especially socio-economic goal. And because of that, the relationship, personal or business, can just become more demanding, can become more heavy responsibilities there. And actually, oftentimes, if it's a good relationship, it takes further commitment. So if you're in a bad relationship, personal, business, or contract or agreement, and you're in the first few degrees, this is when it can escalate and get worse. But as I said, with detachment can be solved. If you're in a good relationship, you just decide to take extra duties and responsibility together, like, I don't know, like some goal together. We're going to have a child, or we're going to have a business together, or we're going to start this where my husband is going to apply for a government position or to become a mayor. So I'm going to support them, and I'm going to kind of, in a detached way, I know that they won't be much around, or I know that there will be hard work, so I'm going to support them. So you see, there's so many different levels it can manifest, depending on where are you at your life right now. So hopefully it's giving answers to the different groups of people that have Leo in the first few degrees. But again, responsibilities definitely increase, because Saturn is the planet of duties and responsibilities. When it's transiting your sun, especially in regards to career, or with men, there can be some difficulties, on some pressure from partners that comes. Your partners can become more demanding. I remember when I had Saturn opposition my sun, my partner then was demanding that I wake up early, that I do this. I had he was like a slave runner, tasks of things on the a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheets on the fridge of what I have to do. That was my ex-husband. And I was like, what an asshole for a bit, but I'm so grateful, because that was the best thing that because as I said, opposition, it's always someone else trigger you. Someone else might be more critical towards you, or you can be feeling more critical towards you, or towards someone else. And this is the thing to watch out about, and not necessarily just marriage partners again. But as again I say, because Saturn will be in Aquarius, for me this is going to give much more productive final results. When I had Saturn opposition my Sun, it was in Libra, again a sign of exaltation. So the final result is that through his hard tasking me, I learned how to do business, and I learned how to not give up, and how to be organized, and how to work hard. My motto was good things come without effort. Before that, before Saturn opposition Sun, I was like too much into the law of attraction. I don't have to do anything. If it's gonna be good, it's gonna, if it's meant for me, and I believe I don't have to do work for me to achieve it. And he was like, are you crazy? Have you ever done business? This is what you have to do. These are your tasks. And I'm like, oh, write 3 articles per day? I'm like, no way, and or do 1 video per day. Well, through the pushing of a partner, Saturn opposition Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, this is what you learn to do. Or sometimes you can be, I think it's more going to be another person pushing you for more perfection, to fix something, to improve something, being a bit more critical towards you. But I think they'll do it in a cool, detached way, not in a mean way, because Saturn in Aquarius is not mean. It's very logical, and it has a reason, and it has a system to it, rather than in a cruel, vindictive way, a partner doing it or someone else. So there you go. All right, then. For all other Leos, going back to every Leo, we also have Rahu and Ketu changing signs. They're always opposite each other. Rahu and Ketu are the north and south node of the moon, which are very karmic points. And actually in ancient Vedic astrology, they just look at Jupiter, Saturn, what they're doing, and Rahu and Ketu. And that's how they'll predict, they use Dasha systems as well, but that's how important they are. So Rahu and Ketu from May 2020 are changing signs. Rahu is entering in your 11th house in Gemini, and Ketu is entering into your 5th house. And they'll be there till the end of 2020. So from May, so the second part of basically 2020, and almost the whole part of 2021, you'll have the influence. It means that the eclipses will be happening in your 11th and 5th houses. And you might feel it especially more intensely when the actual eclipses are happening in Sagittarius and in Gemini, which are around June the 5th, around November the 30th, December. So basically December is more eclipsy, where all those things that I'm going to talk about will happen. The end of November, December, and June, you can feel those influences that I'm going to talk about. But I would say the whole time they continue working, they're there. So what is Rahu? Wherever it goes, we become more passionate about it. We even are willing to say the end justifies the means. Rahu is not the most moral planet, like Saturn or Jupiter, that they have to do it the right way. Rahu is like, I'm going to get it no matter what. And the 11th house is what? Access to groups and organizations. So maybe you always wanted to be a member of some society or whatever, or to be part of some elite clique group, or to just be part of the cool kids at school, or some other group organization. Well, now Rahu will give you access to that. Rahu would always encourage us to present ourselves as if we are perfect for that group, as if we already, because Rahu is a trickster. And Rahu is willing to put on a face, fake it till you make it. So the 11th house is fake it till you make it. Oh, I'm from the cool kids. Oh, I know how to play golf. Let me be part of the country club. Oh, I've been to so many golf clubs. Or it's kind of, I'm not saying you're going to do some tricky stuff, but you're going to gain access. Rahu manifests and materializes and gives you access to a place that you want, especially the 11th house. The right people, or accessing people with, especially the 11th house, is people with networking, people with connections, So now you can, and Rahu is eager, is willing to make its way through any kind of holes and to climb up the social ladder. Rahu is social climber. And when it's in the 11th house, this is society, and this is, networking, so becoming member of business organizations or groups or some, I don't know, some desired group, or meeting some people, for example, with money, or people who have achieved fame of some sort, people who have climbed up on the social higher, on the higher status. And usually they might be foreigners also as well, or people with, often it can be people with more monetary abilities as well, that can become benefactory for you. I remember when Rahu was transiting my 11th from the ascendant, I started, first of all, making more money, because Rahu, the 11th house, is also gains. I became more passionate about different products to create, to reach more people. And Rahu in the 11th suddenly raised all my following, because the 11th house is the fans, the following you have, how much social outreach you have. And suddenly they grew from 10,000 to 30,000 or something like that within that year and a half. That Rahu was there, basically. And yeah, I definitely noticed more social influence that I had. And I made a lot of foreign friends. Rahu is foreign, someone different than you, someone that you've never, and actually we created a group, a community. I developed, the first time I developed the Astrolada community. So if you want to create communities, if you want to organize big groups of some sort, and that will be gainful, that will achieve some social goal, for society, or some gainful business goals, because the 11th house is the house of big gains as well, or networking. So your network will definitely, by 2021, when Rahu comes out of the 11th, will be increased, and it will be some kind of fated friendships as well, with people, and they're not necessarily always very people that are, they're not familiar to you, they're different. Sometimes they can be a bit of posers and pretentious because of the nature of Rahu. You know, it's not necessarily always a trickster and a liar, but there is that thing there, or they're very materialistic, driven for success. So I also remember, I never am a member of any groups. And when Rahu was transiting my 11th, I became member of 2 different groups, and I was going to meetings, and then Rahu went out of the 11th. Now I totally lost desire for that. But Rahu increases the desire, whatever it's passing, the 11th house, for gains, for new friendships, for exciting new friends, or people with connections, climbing the social ladder, getting more social outreach, creating more gains. Believe me, a lot of you can notice that next year, if you're Leo, especially Leo rising, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant to lesser degree, that your popularity rises, so that's your gains, your ability, your gainful ability, and the creation of some society. So I'm excited, because that's exactly when I'm launching the new Astrolada website, and new society, new membership site, and everything. Oh, Rahu 11th is membership places. So I'm very passionate about this. And it's also the 11th house's goals, and materialistic goals, or social and economic goals, with which you contribute to society, that you become passionate about. Some of you might notice yourself, starting from May, that you become emotionally very passionate about social project, about some kind of, maybe not, might be charity, but to do something with social importance for others. It's not necessarily always, but you know, even when people do things for social importance, again, to influence others, the opportunity to influence others will grow with Rahu in the 11th house. To make connections and to connect with influential people as well will increase, but also will be your ability to do something for others. The 11th house is to give something, to summarize something that you've been, and to give it to others. So Rahu can make you very passionate about that there as well. But just one warning, when Rahu transits the 11th house, there can be some crisis with friends, especially, or people from a social group, especially such that are posers, or that are a bit too materialistic and out there. But also Rahu is new influence, new energy, so a lot of new energies and connections will come to you. Also 11th house connected to business. That can mean that for some of you, business marketing strategies, reaching more people, will increase as well. 11th house is connected to goals. So people become more ambitious. This is Rahu transiting the 11th house, one of the most ambitious things, and it materializes those ambitions, you know. If it's from the ascendant in particular, you can notice that from the moon as well, from the sun, maybe a bit less, to a lesser degree, if your sun is in Leo. But if you have a stellium in Leo, yes, again. So you see, when Rahu goes through and actually a lot of very rich people have Rahu in the 11th, a lot of big influencers have Rahu in the 11th. I think Donald Trump has Rahu in the 11th. But that's the drive to be well connected, the passion to be well connected, the passion to reach large groups of people, and that's what business is as well. And to have goals, you know, increases the goals to change or help the world, or the goals to, there might be selfish goals for personal, you know, because the 11th house is gains, or there might be goals to help the whole humanity in some way, or your neighborhood, or to start doing some activities with social importance, like joining groups to clean up the neighborhood, things like that. And you'll meet some very interesting people there, because, you know, Gemini, Rahu being Gemini as well. But at the same time, you're going to have Ketu in the 5th house, starting from May 2020 to the end of 2021. Whenever Ketu passes, we get a little bit detached there. We get a little bit disconnected. So the 5th house is children. I've noticed sometimes it might be when a child leaves the home, when a parent has to be some distance away because of responsibility. And usually it's because of worldly responsibility, because Rahu is in the 11th, getting busy with the world, with organizing big events, with social endeavors, or with chasing gains or chasing recognition by society, you know. And because of that, you withdraw some energy from children. You can detach more from a child, or maybe the child leaves to go and live somewhere else, while you get more socially involved. And that sounds good news to me, because I've been like so into this 5th house with babies. Some more social activities are welcome through Rahu in the 11th. Passion for social activities. But Ketu also in the 5th house can indicate that it can also mean it's creative projects. So when Ketu transits there, we might become less creative projects, hobbies, the things that we do to enjoy ourselves, you know, privately. You might become less attached to that, or interested in developing, say, new hobbies, or focusing on your hobbies. So say, if you're doing astrology, you're not going to be into doing it so much for fun. If, for example, you'll be into doing it for 11th house reasons, because the 5th is where Ketu is, where we excrete. We become less interested. So whatever your hobby is, for example, you'll notice yourself detaching from some hobby, or detaching, or doing that hobby with other goals, with goals that can reach more people, that can be turned into a business, that can be turned into some goal of some sort, Rahu in the 11th house. So that can be time when you even receive detachment towards a passion of yours, or some talent. The 5th house is some talent of yours, but because you're trying to channel it into Rahu, into something that reaches large, you're not doing it anymore for your soul, for your joy, for your happiness, which is the 5th house, or for you having fun. You're doing it, or for the sake of creating, or being inventive. This is the 5th house. No, you're just going to start, if you're doing it, you're going to channel it towards to be seen from people, to be recognized, to be turned into a business, you know, any of those things. Another thing is that 5th house is lovers, or romantic life. And for many of you, it seems like your passion will be focused on the society, or on friends, on social activity, or in gains. And because of that, your romantic life, you can lose some interest in your romantic life, or you can feel a bit detached romantically to your partner. Sometimes there can be a loss of a romantic partner, detachment. And I remember sometimes it's like, because Ketu causes it, it's something that is karmically has come to an end. It has to be released. Or you can just, if you are involved romantically, you can attract more Ketu-like people. So they're a bit more detached. They might be spiritual. They might be a bit less, they might be more ambivalent. Ketu is the tail of the dragon that doesn't have a direction, doesn't have a head, can't think for itself. So it's kind of a bit spaced out or more spiritual into their own world, or romantically, you kind of, the romantic part is no longer so physical. It's more based on spiritual matters or just less of it. You know, so, oh, I don't want you to think, oh, bummer, no fun now. But it's like your passion is awoken by 11th house things, not by 5th house things, you know. So yeah, only for people, for example, if Ketu is conjunct your ascendant in your natal chart and is transiting your 5th now, then it can bring a child or new romantic experience, or because Ketu becomes you, because it's part of the 1st house. But that's for very few people. All right, so you see, where are some of the things we have to sacrifice? Because Ketu is about to sacrifice, to let go of, or to lose interest for a little bit towards, or to spiritualize. So you can notice that your romantic partner is turning into more spiritual interest, or that your romantic partner is becoming more detached, or that your children are turning into something more Ketuvian, you know, more spiritual of some sort as well. And interestingly enough, just Ketu rules astrology. So when it transits the 5th, that can increase only for astrology the desire towards spiritual hobbies or astrological hobbies. All right. And then we have Venus going retrograde this year, from May the 13th to the end of June, basically, June 25th. So it's going to be retrograde again in your 11th house, where Rahu is going to be already. So we're putting even more emphasis on that 11th house. So starting from, I would say even earlier than that, when Venus enters the 11th house, you're going to start seeing this emphasis. Let me just see, from April till the end of July. So this whole chunk of time, April till the end of July, with especially intense period, May 13th till June 25th, when Venus is retrograde, there'll be a strong focus on the 11th house, friendships, revisiting, re-examining some friendships, especially now because, and Rahu at the same time is bringing new ones, because Rahu is about something new, progressive, different, but some old friends can appear, especially while during May, from May 13th to June 25th, to reignite those friendships, or to release them if they hurt you, you know, and to let them go. To you can usually, because good aspect from Gemini to Leo, it's not going to be something too stressful, but there might be the need to reevaluate a friendship, the need to reevaluate the belonging to a group or organization, or if you are doing, there might be the time when you are doing some kind of if you're doing some kind of event, especially from May 13th to June 25th, it should be something that you started earlier, at least few months before that. So now when you're doing a large event, which is the 11th house, Venus, it's basically Venus brings the completion of it. Also, you might notice that you're a lot more involved with women this year, because Venus is feminine energy, especially around the springtime. And a lot of old friends, female friends, get in touch with you or whatever. And also you can notice that you're reevaluating your resources again. The 11th house is not so much resources, but gains. Your strategic plan, because it's going to be in Gemini. Gemini makes plans. You're re-examining your strategic plans of how to connect to the right people. Who do you want to be your friends? Where you want to belong? How to network so you can fulfill your goals. You know, so you're kind of doing some self-examination of those things, self-evaluation of them, which can indicate some changes there, but also some changing of the plan of how to be more gainful, changing of the plan of how to achieve your goals in life, you know. And Rahu mean that you do it in cleverer ways, in more progressive ways, because Rahu uses new technology, Rahu uses tricks or anything that is created by humans. And also in a more diplomatic way, because this is Venus, in a more with your appearance, with your charm, to make your, to climb that ladder, to make your impact on society by clever presentation, which is Venus, by connecting to the right people in favor, especially women, Venus, and such. But some important connections will be forming, guys. Some of them might be coming back from the past. And I don't think they're so much romantic as they are with mutual goal together of some sort. All right, so that's what it is for the 11th house. But again, usually by the time Venus finishes its retrograde period, you have a lot of blessings there in that house. So I see increased popularity or increase some project, especially connected to reaching large people, large audiences, and connected to beauty, art, something Venusian, or connected to a relationship, or connected to love. I just realized we're doing a love conference then. Large event in, oh my God. All right, that's so on point. And I'm a Leo moon. So maybe I'll see some of you there and we'll reconnect, maybe alive this time in real life. But at the end, you're going to have more clear ideas about your goals and more gainfulness as well. You see, that's where it leads to. Then we have another planet going retrograde, but in a good way. Again, it does not affect Leos difficultly. It affects them with the trine aspect, and that's Mars. Mars is going retrograde from September 9th, but I'll tell you from 1st. It's going to be already very palpable till the middle of November. So I have September, October, and middle of November, 2.5 months, Mars retrograde in your 9th house, which is trine to Leo in Aries. Okay, so that's not gonna, it will be stressful for some of you Leos, especially if you have planets in Cancer or in Libra or in Aries. You know, a lot of Leos, especially if you're a Leo sun, might have Venus or Mercury in Cancer, and if Mars squares them, then it will be tension there, might be fighting with someone. But if you don't have anything in Cancer or in Libra, you know, your Venus, whatever, then very likely this Mars retrograde, which usually they're quite a bummer, quite hard, is going to be in your 9th house, which means Mars will be there already from July till the end of the year. So the whole second part of the year, it's Mars in the 11th house, sorry, in the 9th house. So the whole theme of the second part of the year is this Mars in the 9th house. What is this? So first of all, and it's helping with the helpful aspect. 9th house is anything to do with legal matters, first of all, with judges and anything to do with laws. So you might be fighting some battle there that can escalate, you know, some battle, but because it's in a trine, I think it's actually not going to be so stressful, or it's gonna help you. Or if you're someone who already works in court or legal systems, or with some international law, you know, something connected to international law, or to, for example, legalizing yourself in a different country, legalizing some documents, to legalize yourself. So there might be some battle or increased activities. This is Mars. Increased dynamic activity that requires more efforts from you, that requires you like a sprint, you know, to do for about, especially November, especially September till the middle of November, more focused effort there. But I think you end up winning there. It's also the 9th house rules higher education, universities. So that might be the fight or the battle of some of you to get accepted in such university or to graduate such universities. In some cases, 9th house is teachers, professors. So for some of you, there might be some fight that's happening between you and a professor, guru, teacher figure. Or a professor, guru, teacher figure might be very actively stimulating you to do something. Maybe by pressing your buttons, maybe by putting demands on you, maybe by requiring demands in a sense like, I want more, you know. Or maybe just go, telling you go, I want this, I want that. And when it goes retrograde, Mars, now fix it, redo it again, redo your master's degree again, or whatever, or this report, do it again. Or for some of you, might be that they are called to take an exam again, especially during the Mars retrograde that they could not take before. And that's this consistent effort and energy that is indicated the Mars in the 9th house. This is what it indicates. For some of you, it can mean that the second part of the year, they get actively involved with some course of study. So for someone, it might be that they start uh, uh, a course in astrology or a course in psychology or anything, but there's so much focus on higher knowledge or studies, and it's quite proactive, it's quite hectic as well, because this is Mars. You're quite proactive in regards to getting it done as well, or getting that. You're very excitable then, it's very dynamic. If you have teachers in your life now, the second part of this year, they'll be very dynamic. They'll be maybe an Aries, very kind of excitable, and also ninth house is considered the house of, so yes, crash courses, higher learning, teachers, tutors, father figures. I remember when I had Mars transit in my ninth house, kind of, and it went retrograde. I had a fight with my dad, quite severe fight, but it was in Scorpio. It wasn't in Aries. Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio is more intense. So I think this time, if we have fights with teachers or father figures, I don't think they'll come fast and go fast and be resolved fast. But it's just, we have to be more careful about expressing too dynamic opinions, especially September to the middle of November, because ninth house is also the house of our opinions, our belief systems, and you can feel like you might be fighting for something you believe around that time. You might be called to fight for something you believe. You might be called to state your stance or revise your beliefs, because it's retrograde now, to revise your beliefs in regards to something as well. But you're not wasting time with it too much, you're kind of, it's Mars in Aries, go, go, go. The ninth house is also traveling. Okay, so I feel a big number of Leos, there can be some very dynamic developments in regards to relocating to a foreign country, legalizing matters, that they have to be very dynamic, on the point, go, 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 discipline, because Mars is the soldier, don't forget his discipline, to develop some strategy and revise it a few times, to do something very actively that requires a lot of your energy, either with high education, with studies, with traveling abroad. For example, for someone, it might be like a long desired world trip that you take in the autumn around the world, that you have 2 or 3 trips back to back, or a long trip this period, that is, that you're more physical, you're active, you're traveling, you're moving around, you're exploring. Mars in the ninth house loves to explore, especially foreign countries, so new belief systems, to dig very deep in them, to some kind of intense course of study that you're passionate about. But you'll be passionate. Whatever you're doing it, you won't be doing it because you have to. You'll be like, I'm excited, because Mars is that energy. I'm excited to learn this new thing. Wow, this course. Wow, this country. And it might happen very suddenly and fast, that it spins you in some kind of a traveling for a few months, or course of education, or new adventures that you do. Or if you work in import-export, for example, that can be very dynamic month, where you're working a lot, where you're having a lot of projects that you have to fix, to redo a few times to make them better. For some of you, might be that you're revising some material, but very passionately and excitedly, some material that you studied before, some knowledge or wisdom that you've known before, you are revising it, checking it over. And what else is the ninth house? I think we mentioned almost everything: foreign countries, travel, opinions. As I said, that can be one thing, that's very strong opinions, clash of opinions, but you can really inspire others, because Mars in the ninth house, you have this fire in you the second part of the year. Mars is very strong when it's retrograde. It's doing something, it's fixing some mistakes from the past, but it's actively doing them. And it's not like I have no energy to do anything, but dynamic and beneficial for you, because it's making trines to the sign of Leo. It's almost like more inspiration comes, and because especially if you're born from this Leo, from 15 to 30 degrees Leo. You see, 15 to 30 degrees Leo. So the last 15 degrees, if you have your sun, moon, or ascendant there, you'll be very active, but Mars is making a trine with arranging anything to do with teaching. Oh yeah, the ninth house also teaching. You might be very actively organizing or arranging or planning or doing hectic work on something to do with educational work, with teaching work, with work connected to spreading knowledge and wisdom, with work connected to uh, uh, any kind of higher knowledge, very kind of intellectual and high-minded work that you're very busy with, but you're enthusiastic, excitable, and you get great results as well, especially by the end of November when Mars is direct and it starts moving direct ahead. Middle of November, middle of November at the end. That's the busy part, and it's, my God, it so correspond to how I'm planning next year, because then start my teaching, all my teaching plans that I do, and it's fascinating. I don't know how exactly it will manifest in your life, but in mine, like, oh, I love astrology. But you have to be actively involved with such ninth house matters, Leos, and I think you can have some very positive results out of them. And get a lot of things done in regards to ninth house, whether it's relocation, whether it's travel, higher education, teaching, higher knowledge. All right. And ninth house is publishing, so you might be very busy trying to fix something, re-edit something to do with publishing as well. And then we have Mercury going retrograde. It goes retrograde every 3 years. It's not rare as Mars and Venus. You see, we've got many retrogrades. The retrograde periods, basically, we have to redo something. We get a bit more frustrated, but the final results are 3 times as good as if it's just a direct planet. So yes, we put 3 times more effort when there are many retrograde planets, and we're going to have so many this year and next year. 3 times better results. Then we're going to have Mercury retrograde 3 times from February 16th till March the 9th in your 8th house. So you have to reorganize your finances, especially ones connected to a partner, business partner, or other people. Be careful with investment with others. Don't do new such investments within that period. Best is to instead reorganize, move your money if there was somewhere, move them another place, or revise some old investments that you've made on something that you've already planned, or there might be some complication that happens with money or delays that's connected to come to you from others, or that is other people's resources and finances. This is what you have to be around February 16th till March 9th. You might be working with such things, but at the end of the day, you might, and it's also taxes. Some of you might be like hectic doing, because Mercury is to, Mercury retrograde in particular is to edit, to correct, to put a lot of mental energy and focus into matters connected to 8th house, to fix them, to improve them, mutual resources, banks and loans, taxes, and also connected to, and there might be some stresses. Yes, retrograde planets bring stresses, but it is what it is. We have to get those things done. And connected to insurances, inheritances. This might be time where problems with such arise. You have to fix them. That's what the retrograde period is for, to fix them. Or, for example, and to oftentimes when Mercury goes retrograde, in my 8th house, clients call and say, "Oh, I have this course, like I have not, this reading I ordered, I have not received it, can I have my money back or something?" You have to return something back or whatever, or revise something, or revise your finances together with your partner. Then the second time Mercury goes retrograde is from the 12th, it's in your 12th house, again, another emotional house, from June the 18th to July the 12th. So June the 18th, July the 12th, it goes retrograde in your 12th house. What happens then is that we might have to put extra efforts before, behind the scenes, where you're required to fix some mistakes before you bring up some project, for example, for others to see. So you have to, in your privacy, to fix something behind, to see. And 12th house is connected to mistakes, omissions. We've missed something, we've misplaced something, and you have to work on that around June 18th, July 12th. I remember when I had Mercury once 12 in my retrograde once in my 12th house, my laptop broke and I lost my yearly videos like that I was recording or something like that. So be careful with technology as well when Mercury goes retrograde, not to lose valuable information, not to misplace documents. And I went and I bought a new laptop while Mercury was retrograde, and guess what? On the next Mercury retrograde, it also broke. So don't buy new laptops on Mercury retrograde. Buy maybe repaired old laptops. In the 12 houses, again, there might be some expenses connected to Mercury, to travel when Mercury is in the 12th house around June, July, connected to buying anything connected to spending on websites, on trade, connected to spending on communication or communication devices. There might be some expenses connected to business transactions, some expenses connected to business overall. So that's, sometimes, or we might be just absent-minded when Mercury is in the 12th house. Or you might be revising some spiritual knowledge. That's nothing. Or your mind might get introspective and you want to read more spiritual books. Or you might be having some private communication with someone behind the scenes, that you're preparing something together. Some gossiping might be happening while Mercury transits retrograde in the 12th house. Some secrets can come out. Also in the first retrograde, February, March, and the June, July ones, secrets, both the 12th and the 8th house are connected to secrets. So you might be in your very secretive mind to investigate something, but also some unexpected information comes out that was lost before. Another thing is research. This fantastic time, both Mercury retrogrades, to research something behind the scenes. Both 8th and 12th houses where Mercury goes retrograde is about self-introspection, research something, maybe scientific research, maybe astrology research, maybe just deep studies. When you have a lot of time alone, because they like those two houses, the isolation, and where you can read something, where you can prepare something, where you can deep think about something. All right, and the last Mercury retrograde is in your 4th house from October 13th to November 3rd, another emotional personal house. So a lot of things during those Mercury retrograde in the 8th, 12th, and 4th are a lot of things from the past tend to come out with emotional nature, which you kind of start thinking or talking about things from the past, about your family, especially the October, November ones, about your past traumas or past lifetimes or past lovers. You'll be thinking or talking a lot about those things, but not with a desire to reconnect with them and make something happen. No more in order for you to understand why certain things happen, why, because Mercury wants to understand with the mind, through intellectually, to have like a aha moment. It makes sense now. So you might be revisiting things from the past during those 3 Mercury retrograde periods that are connected with more private things, more internal things, that you're working on yourself, that you're working on your subconscious, that you're with conscious methods, with maybe it's both 3 Mercury retrograde periods are really good to be with an astrologer or counselor to examine all things and why they happen and what they mean for you, because all those 3 houses are houses of liberating feelings that are locked in, and Mercury wants to investigate something because Mercury researches to understand it with the conscious mind, and then says, okay, I can release it now. And the process of talking through some of those past things with a counselor, with an advisor, will be what helps you. There is lots of healing in those Mercury retrograde periods for the Leo sign on a deep, almost imperceptible level. But if you speak with a counselor, with an astrologer, someone, a lot of things from the past will be raised around those times that give you some deep insights. Plus this October 13th to November 3rd retrograde is in your 4th house. Some of you might be returning to family, to see family. Some of you might be reconnected with your mom if you haven't seen her for a bit. Some of you might be having some important conversations and decisions that you have to take in regards to your family life. It might escalate indeed to some verbal issues, with some verbal clashes, especially for Leos that are born around, just a second, Leos born around 0 to 12 degrees, because Mercury squares them, lunar ascendant, 0 to 12 degrees. So in the last Mercury retrograde, there can be a bit more problems, especially connected to your personal life, to family. Some things that were not set in the past, they will need to be set and addressed. Some, not necessarily a family crisis, but they need to communicate and discuss something in depth, something more serious. And also they might indicate a change of place of living for some of you. Or the need to change or fix something or re-examine or rearrange something around your home. Or if you're already in the process of selling or buying a house, it might be delayed and you might have to do a different visual for it, or correct certain clauses or points from the contract, so that's, but after that, especially if you use the period of Mercury retrograde to do those fixes, to do better research in regards to place of living, on where you want to move, or and then do it when Mercury moves direct. Or some of you just see that something needs to be fixed around the home, and they need to plan and organize someone to come and fix it and do it, and because it's no longer can be postponed, because it sticks in your face when Mercury goes retrograde. And that's also on the emotional level with family members. So these are the Mercury retrograde periods for you. And we have one last thing. Uranus will be square from 6 to 11 degrees for all Leos, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. So this is only for a few Leos. All Leos that have their Sun, Moon, or Ascendant from 6 to 11 degrees in Leo, which means that they were born, I'd say, from around the 27th of June till around the 4th of July. 27th to around the 4th of July. That's my, okay, that's, no. No, that's not July. Sorry, I'm talking about not Leos. So 6 till 11 degrees. So that's everyone who's born from around 30th of July till around the 4th of August, sorry, 30th, maybe even 29th of July till the 4th of August. Uranus square your Sun. Or if it's your Moon or Ascendant, it's from 6 to 11 degrees in Leo. What does it mean? It means that big changes are happening for you. Let me give you an example. My mom just had that last year, Uranus square her Sun. And the Sun usually is the husband, the man in a woman's chart. So that was the first time that she was missing for 6 months from my dad. So there sometimes can be a separation, temporary or forever, with a male figure in your life. If it's your son that's being squared by Uranus, because she came to help me with the children. And that was a huge change for her, because she's never been out of the country, and suddenly she's in a new country, separated from the important man in her life. The Sun, and Uranus is to separate, with totally new changes and totally new experiences. Uranus, excitable but stressful as well. And she was saying, there was a lot of tension because of the changes and a lot of new things happening. So it's almost like a whole career change. Also, the Sun is career. So if you're a woman or a man in a working age, you can decide to make big changes in your career. You can suddenly quit a job or get redundant, or you can decide like, okay, I'm not going to have this job like that anymore. I'm going to do something else. So, or I'm going to really innovate my job. I'm going to really change. You need to, if you're having Uranus square your Sun and you love what you're doing and you want to keep it, you need to do something different this time. Maybe bring in some new technologies, maybe bring in something very different. But Uranus ultimately wants to give you more freedom and time for yourself. I know Saturn is still in your 6th house telling you work, 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 but I can give you a perfect example. The lady that I told you with Sun, with Leo rising, who's been trying to basically, she had the Uranus square already this year with Saturn in her 6th house. So she says, now I'm working extra hard, because by the end of that process, maybe by 2020, 21, I will no longer need to work in my business, so I can retire and the business will be running on its own. So because she was also having the Uranus square her Sun. So she really wants, square her, I think it was her Ascendant in Leo, yes. So it really wanted to liberate her, to give her more freedom, basically. So if it's your Sun in particular, which is often very much connected to career, you're going to have to do something. So some of you might become freelancers, for example. Some of you might need to start new technologies. Also, the sun is important man in your life. Father, husband, boss. A boss can change in your life. Or how you take executive decision can change. How you present yourself as a boss, your husband, for example, if it's important man in your life, can become might need more freedom to explore, might have some big changes in their life as well that you have to adapt to, or because you are changing, it reflects on your partner as well. If it's your moon, a woman can be like, there might be big changes in the life of your mother. It might be big emotional, hormonal changes that are happening because the moon rules hormones for some of you. And that they usually can feel like electric waves. So it's very important if you're having Uranus transit to Sun, Moon, or Ascendant magnesium. This is because the body really drains that mineral. And you feel like on the edge because there are a lot of changes happening around that time. With the moon, it might be, with the sun, it is career, important men in your life, the goals in your life, what you want, With the moon is place of living, family, circumstances of your life, your hormones, your relationships with important women, And because of all those consistent changes, they go on for about a year. And they come out of the blue and very suddenly, and you don't have time to adapt for them because square. Usually because Uranus is coming from your 10th house, they might have to do with career of some sort or with your social status. But doesn't matter, wherever they come from. And if it's your ascendant, it might be the changes of relationships and the shift of important relationship. For example, I had Uranus square my ascendant last year, and I broke up 3 partnerships, not the one with my husband, but 3 business partnerships that I thought would stay forever together. And it happened suddenly, it's not like a dragged out, oh, I'll never forgive you. No, cut connection. They're like, oh, we want to do our own thing. Okay. So suddenly out of the blue, some contracts, some clients, if it's your ascendant. For the ascendant, it's especially the relationship axis. And usually coming through your career and new changes in the career that you're making. But again, what can I give you as an advice when Uranus is around? For me, you can't do much. You just go roll with the changes. The more you resist them, the more you can make yourself like as if burn out, because the nervous tension really increases. And honestly, you have a revolutionized life at the end with more freedom. These are the people that really big changes will happen for them. More emotional freedom if it's the moon at the end of the process, even though it might feel disruptive. More authentic self-expression of the feelings if it's the moon. If it's the ascendant, more freedom, physical freedom as well. More freedom from the wrong relationship eventually. And if it's the sun, freedom in regards to your career or from important men or in regards to the direction of your life. And we also have Pluto and Neptune, but they're not making any aspects for you, Leo. So that's the majority of what I saw. I hope I was in depth. We talked about the eclipses. We talked about everything. I don't know if you'll find more in-depth video horoscopes, but if you want it more systemized, my teacher has written them day by day, month by month, what to expect with very little astrology language, very systemized. She's really good she's Leo ascendant as well. So, it's only $6.99 for the viewers of those videos if you'd like to have your written systemized month by month sign. And thank you so much. Check them out and have a wonderful 2020.